And
Right, it's 3, 2, 1, and we are live. Rich is currently sitting in the squeakiest chair on earth. It's basically the Abba and Preach floorboard of chairs. So I think mine's squeaky too. It doesn't really matter. If you can't hear it, it's awesome. If you can't hear it, no one cares. Go to Drive-Thru RPG and leave a comment. You'll know where to go in a minute. Anyway, Rich, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing well. This is like the smoothest setup we've ever had since we tried doing this. This is like the most deboomered version ever. I love it. It was a good day. I tried moving a bunch
Careful,
of
you may have just jinxed it.
No. Come on. I was gonna have a Gen Xer is too old moment. Yeah, I destroyed my lower back. Like I'm already wounded and shouldn't be doing anything. And I was like, I'm gonna move some rocks today and get them out of the yard. And I got like two, and like no kidding, like those garden stones for like trees. And I got two in, and I was like, oh, I've made a mistake. But there's like 40 more to go, and I'm not stopping. So, balls. Anyway, this is not the Rich and Joanna Gaines show. This is actually Thieves Guild Games. This is our church for 21 May. And we had a whole list of things to talk about, and I hit a weird prioritization method of like what's a natural flow from last week of talking about what was it, what makes a good company, and then just players in general. And so tonight we're going to talk about that one dirty thing all players want, and GMs just do not like to surrender. What is that thing, Rich?
Narrative control.
Oh God, it's gross. Yeah, man. So what should we define narrative control? Is that necessary in 2025's gaming?
That's a good question. We probably should, just so that we're all on the same page.
Okay.
But I'm going to argue though also that I don't think some players actually want that.
Yeah,
there are a lot of players that when you give them the opportunity, they're like,
yeah,
I don't know.
You're not wrong.
So
you're not wrong. Yeah, I've definitely played with those people. We talked about last week with some of the hot takes, forcing people to take narrative control is I think kind of what happens sometimes, in some games. Especially if you got a game like Savage Worlds where it's like, or Fate, and it's like, spend your chips, dictate something that happens. Like, oh, we succeed? No, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And, I think for those that don't know, what we're talking about is like when we say narrative control, allowing the players a modicum of agency to help build the world or to build the scene. And I think you and I have talked about it a lot where you say you're in a warehouse and a lot of players, well, is there a box I can hide behind? Right. You're in a warehouse, dude. I didn't say it was an empty warehouse.
Right, yeah. Yes.
So there's a lot of is this available? Is that available? Whereas I think as a GM, if we can just give up some of that control and say, you know what, we're building this scene together. And it may not be in my head initially, but bring it in. And if there's a reason why that doesn't fit, I, as the GM, still am the adjudicator, right? I can still say, no, sorry, I should have painted that scene a little bit better. I apologize. But that thing is not there, or you can't do that for this reason. And I can expound upon it at that point. But if it's unimportant to what's going on, and it's important for the player because it gives them something that they can do, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's and there's so many conversations, downright to arguments about stuff like that. Of like, the easiest, simplest example that I've seen and I've used, and people will argue just vehemently against it, is say it's 1930s, we're doing Call of Cthulhu or Deadlands Noir or whatever. You're in a bar, you're going back and forth with someone, and all hell breaks loose. You flip over the back of the bar, and the player taking narrative control is like, I reach for the shotgun. It's 1930. Odds are there's a shotgun behind the bar. There's a lot of GMs who are like, oh, goddamn shotgun back there. I didn't plan for that. And be like, well, probably one, because you don't go to a lot of bars, and you may not. You really normally, I think it comes from you don't understand the setting that you've put together.
Yeah.
kind of like you said is, but yeah, I have seen that a lot where people are like, you don't get to tell me there's a weapon back there. I was like, what do you, it's a bar, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, not to mention that's a common trope in a lot of the movies and stuff. It's
yeah,
like, especially for that
yeah,
era. Now,
yeah,
if it was 2025, there may not be a shotgun under that bar,
right, yeah,
but
yeah,
still, if it's in line with the setting,
yeah.
let it happen.
Yeah, you're probably going to have a bat behind there, one of those little mini bats, like a tire thumper, like
Yeah.
truckers. That's the
Yeah.
thing too, is if the player does that in this 30 setting, like I grab a shotgun, it's an easy way to take back the narration without saying no and being a spoil sport of like you reach in, you feel the wood of the stock, and you pull back and you stand up with all the cocksure arrogance of someone who's now got a double barrel, only to look down and realize you're holding a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And that's a super easy way of doing it.
And that becomes a really cool scene as well, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh no. Well, now let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, there's a lot of people who just absolutely refuse it. That's one of the things about Suede that I've noticed too, is a lot of the naysayers on Suede, as soon as they change bennies to allow you to take narrative narrative control.
Oh, yeah.
What is narrative control? It's essentially you can change something about what's going on. Man, that really ruffled some feathers real badly. And it's crazy.
Which I don't get. It's like in the scheme of things, if I say I suddenly have a flashlight when I didn't before,
Yeah.
is that going to break anything? Well, now you can see in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and as a person, if I know I'm going there, I'm going to have a flashlight with me. It's like in the moment, I don't have it written on my character sheet, but I get there. It's like, oh,
yeah,
we're going to have to stop this part right now, because I got to go back to town to pick up a flashlight. No.
yeah. But now you're winning.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't feel like when I have to sit there and argue with the GM.
God, dude, yeah. But that's part of it too, is that I don't think it's the adversarial part. I do think it comes down to, like, even on the GM side, you'll have GMs who want to win. They may not realize that that's what their problem is, but it is tough to until you get used to giving players narrative control, and then there's probably too much narrative control. And I've run into that. Well, you know how I run games, and I tend to put a lot of player-facing decisions on even small stuff. I think a lot. And yeah, I've seen the deer in the headlights a few times in person at cons and stuff. It's just like, it's okay. Whatever you say next is okay.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear, because I've had this discussion on some of the social media platforms and things like that. I'm like, just let them do it. Well, I can't do that because then they're going to go way out of control. And I jump over and I cleave off their head.
Yeah.
Dude, you did 2 points of damage. You really think you're cutting off a head with 2 points of damage? Maybe if they're down to 2 hit points, if you're playing a hit point game. But still, I'm like, you're still the DM. You can roll that back and say, you did not do enough damage for that. Let's scale that back a little bit.
Right.
And that's still, to me, I would rather the GM do that than to assume the entire responsibility of narrating everything, because man, that gets tedious for at least when I run games. It gets tedious if I have to narrate absolutely every little thing.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And but yeah, that you're right. That also is that thing of like, well, if I let them get a shotgun behind the bar, the next thing you know, they're going to be trying to radio a spaceship. Like, come on, dude. Oh, hyperbole. Come on, man. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, I realized on the way home with this, we haven't talked about. So last, what was it, Saturday, we were in Nashville. And when I ran that game, I realized I thought there was 2 moments, and now I can't think of the second one. But I took away your narrative control, and I didn't realize at the time I was doing it. And I was like, man, I was on the way home. I'm like, man, I did it then, and I can't remember the other time that I did it. It was when your tomahawk, when you went to do your tomahawk, and I think you had said I caught it. And it just didn't register because you're like, oh, I just, tomahawk, crosses the ground. And I'm like, and and I just kind of let that blow by for whatever reason. And I was like, no, you swing it, slips out, and it fucking flies off and into the gas pump. And then on the way back, I was like, God, man, I took away like that one piece of narration from you, and it made me feel bad.
Well, I will give you though that I liked what yours did better for the scene. Although I'll tell you, the one thing that we failed to do is to keep that part in there.
Yes.
Like the guy comes up and doesn't even notice that his gas is pouring all over the ground.
Yeah. Totally my fault as well. Yeah.
But we were in the heat of the moment and things were happening, and
that is true. You just gotten bit by a random person, and So everyone, we're doing a test run of Task Force Raven 0 hour, which is the conversion for TFR into the Year Zero engine, and
it was fun. And I'll tell you, man, if you guys are ever in Nashville, go to the Gamekeep. It was an awesome store and great people, and
that store is baller. Yeah. Man, it was good. But Year Zero, that combat only lasted 2 rounds, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it could have been 3. There was a couple, but it wasn't long and drawn out for sure.
Yeah, no, it was bullets. Who knew bullets do a lot of damage to things, especially in the hands of professionals. But
when you have a rate of fire of 5,
right? Yeah, they were just spitting bullets. But even that game, I think for the most part, every player was really receptive to narrative control. The young kid who was playing the immigrant doctor, he was the medic, right? He was the medic. He seemed like he was just running with everything, and he would just interject stuff, and from that perspective of like, well, I'm an immigrant doctor and I'm really into the occult, and so he played like that weird, kind of introverted stereotype. It was neat.
The thing that I really appreciated about his play style as well is this is a con style game. It's a one shot. It's a throwaway character for me. And I did not invest as much effort in coming up with a backstory for that character as he did. I mean, he's like, I was doing an autopsy as a mortician, and I'm like, good on you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. And he brought that stuff in without, without being asked for it or, told to roll for something. So again, he took that moment of narrative control and made it matter to the scenes, especially when he's checking out the dead bodies and stuff. So I don't know. I don't think I've ever, the only time I've ever had someone take narrative control that I wanted to just punch them in the mouth with a cat.
Can I guess?
Go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
20-foot Indian guy in your Deadlands game?
Yeah. So what Rich is alluding to is I ran Deadlands locally down at a game store in Memphis. And it was, people were new to it, and I had pre-gens because I always do pre-gens for stuff like this. And I was like, well, what can we be, and all these things, and how the choices out there. And the one kid was like, I can be anything. I was like, yeah, like it's the Old West. Just think about it, Old West but weird. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna be a 20-foot tall gunslinger. Just like, are you fucking retarded? So,
but I'll say for every moment like that, which I'll be honest, I haven't had anything that extreme. I've had some where they may go a little overboard in the description. I'm like, okay, you're kind of going over a little bit, but it wasn't anything bad, and it was easy to dial back. But like, I'll tell you, I love playing with my kids. I have a blast playing with them because they come from such a different mindset. Like when I was doing a game of Forlorn Sea with my kids, and my son Ethan was playing a lizard man. Yeah. And part of his special abilities was wall walking. And he's in the middle of this fight, and he does the whole Jackie Chan thing where he runs up the wall and swipes down at him with his sword as he lands, and he's got like a multi-attack. And it was just a lot of fun to listen to him narrate how he's performing his attack, using his lizard abilities to run along the wall, and all sorts of stuff like that. It was just a lot of fun to watch them do that. And he does a good job of getting the other the other players in the group to join in with whatever shenanigans he's got going on. They're all on board with it.
Yeah.
Like the Coriolis game, same thing. He had this idea of what the crew was going to be like for their ship.
Yeah.
And everybody just goes full in with whatever he's saying. It's like, yeah, we're gonna strike this pose. And everybody immediately strikes the pose. And all of them say that, like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm taking off my sunglasses to add some extra effect. And it's like, okay, guys, that's awesome, man.
I mean, yeah, has it ever broken a game?
No, it hasn't. And the funny thing is, there was one time I was afraid things were going to break the game because they wanted to split the party. Oh. Like my two youngest boys, they wanted to go in and infiltrate deeper into this establishment and get some more information. And Ethan and Hannah, they're like, okay, you guys go do that. We're going to go to the roof and just keep watching. I'm like, you guys realize that's not where the action's going to be, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. We just want to listen to what they're doing. And so they all had comms, and the two that were out of the action had just as much fun just listening to what was going on for the other two and keeping an eye on things in terms of, do we have cops coming? Do we have more bad guys coming? And so they were in radio communication that way, but they weren't involved in the action at all, but just totally let everybody run with it. It was awesome.
No, that's solid. Yeah, I think we just had the one. Wait, I don't remember which of your kids we had that were helping us play test the Open Six game.
That would have been Ethan for sure. And I
don't
remember if Oren was there or not, but Ethan was definitely there.
Yeah, I mean, talk about someone who can embrace a narrative game, with mechanics that allow for that. It was just it was really refreshing to see that. Like, he just took full advantage of the situation, but it wasn't like there's no winning. It's it's a stupid role-playing game, and he did really well with the imagination side. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't mind players having narrative control. It doesn't bother me at all, unless it's stupid. I think it bothers me.
Well, here's the thing that I think you've done a good job on a lot of the games that I'm in, and I'm thinking back to the Eberron game that you ran with me, and my character not knowing anything about Eberron a whole lot, me as a player anyway. Only what you told me about these mile-high buildings, and I'm like, I'm going to run and jump out the window after this guy, and I'm like, I realize I'm probably going to die here, but you rolled with it. You're like, you know what? No, there's a ship that's down there. You land on the ship.
Yeah.
You let me do that stupid action of just jumping out the window.
Yeah.
And I was appreciative that you didn't shut that down, and you didn't even say, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You just you rolled with it. And that was, to me, that's still one of the most memorable scenes for any of my characters, just because I still have that image of him just diving out the window after the bad guy that he's going for. Or then the other time in that same game where he leaps from his ship onto one of the flyers and starts taking control of that. I mean, that to me was just a lot of fun, where you gave me some leash to hang myself to some degree.
Yeah, sure.
But really to tell the story that I wanted to for my character, because to me that was that guy's ability. It wasn't just an immediate death sentence for him to act heroic like that.
Yeah, no.
Which I appreciated.
No, and I think that's how it should be, because like that move, jumping out of the window of Morgrave University, apologies for anyone who doesn't know Eberron, shame on you. But jumping out of that window of Morgrave University, because the airship had pulled up and they were using that dragon shard laden ballista, which essentially turned it into, like a 50 cal. And they're just pumping those ballistas, and you were playing that Warforged Paladin. And like, you as a character didn't know the world, and so there's small things you forget. And so like, knowing the setting, I'm super comfortable with it because one, Eberron is World War One meets Indiana Jones pulp adventure with a little bit of Cthulhu, and it's that swords and sorcery kind of thing. Whatever you need it to be, it is. So jumping out that window from Wargrave University, and taking that chance, I knew even if you had missed, like everyone that's in Sharn still you have a Featherfall token that's on you, and it burns. You burn it as soon as it casts the spell automatically when you fall. It's these little. And they have these belts.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like, I knew you you didn't mention it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, he'll be fine no matter what. Just gonna make it a little more difficult to get you back in the fight when start plummeting, stories. But, yeah, it's just, but yeah. And then the airship thing is just like, whatever, man, it's a pulpy move. And your actions were dictated by the frame of the setting and you didn't deviate. You like either consciously or subconsciously understood the Eberron framework, which was like, okay, this is amazing. Even the day after Ragnarok, everyone got the concept and the framing, and you guys did really well. And you guys realized, I think you might be the only one realize who. Well, no, that was you and the other dude realized who you were meeting, Buck Savage. Just outside of Memphis, and he gave you the go ahead to go into the Memphis pyramid, to take care of business. But yeah, you guys, everything was responding, and that is fine. It's narrative control, I guess, can get a little wonky. People try really weird stuff outside the perspective of the frame, but I think where narrative control, and you mentioned it, it's when someone believes it's not a narrative advantage, but they're going to take the narrative to take advantage of the mechanics and modifiers to win. And it's but they're using that for an excuse, like a curtain, or a shell. Is just like, I know what you're doing, you little turd. You're trying to min-max the scene, and or the scene hogs. And then you run into players who just don't understand the narrative control needs. It doesn't focus on one person. It's not like one, session 1, it's gonna be all Rich. Session 2, it'll be all whomever. We had that in the Eberron game where the one dude didn't understand how things were flowing, and the spotlight needs to continually jump around different characters, and the responses you guys give was what really matters, not well, I took a turn and did a thing, so why am I not getting all the bennies like they are?
The thing about that situation you were just talking about with Eberron and that one particular player, the thing that I really liked about that other player, though, not the one that you were just talking about, but there was a guy that was brand new to gaming.
Yes.
And it was so funny to watch him make all the same stupid mistakes that I made back in the early 80s when I was playing D&D.
Yeah.
He's doing the same stuff. And that one player's like, you don't want to do that, and trying to steer him clear and do all the meta stuff.
Yes.
And I love that he's like, no, I'm still going to do this. It's like, awesome. Go do that. Go do that thing. Have the blast that I used to have back in the 80s, because those were the things that made D&D so much fun for me back then. It's like all this stupid stuff.
Yep. Yeah, he did. I forgot about that. He really tried to hamper, because he was a min-maxer. He was a piece of shit optimizer, and he thought winning. He's the kind of he thought winning was more important than what the kid was doing. Hell, the kid created your guys's adversary.
Yeah,
it was only because of him that you guys had a nemesis.
Which is awesome. I mean, when that happened, I could not stop laughing. Like, this is amazing. This is so awesome.
It was dope.
It's like, I can't wait for this crap to come back and bite me in the ass.
Man, it was getting close. And then I don't know. We'll have to pick that back up. Well, because I'm I've got the year zero engine mindset, and it's also a perfect system for picking up an Eberron game again. We can just make new characters and just flow right back into where you guys left off. Super easy. But yeah, I don't know. I give people, like, if I want to test someone, I figured out that if I want to test where you are as a player, I can, and I think 5th edition might be a good edition for it, is D&D, and just say, hey, make me a fighter. And that's the only restriction I give. It's like, make me a fighter, because I think how you make that fighter will say a lot about how you are as a player. Because like I make a fighter, I'll probably do a half elf because I like the idea of someone who was forced to do the mercenary work and be a soldier. And then I'll usually give him like a short sword just to have the blade, and I'll use a shield and a spear combo because I think that's a dope concept out on the battlefield, is just fucking people up with, you know, the spear and the shield. But that's not the most optimal combination that you could take in 5th edition. And I would even, you know, and I think, what is it, Defender, I think, is where you can get in front of someone else. Because that's also kind of how I play. That's the alignment and the orientation I am as a player, is like, it's more important that we have meaningful moments. And so if there's a time when someone's coming at you and I can get in front of that, it's not just, oh, they take disadvantage to the roll against Rich's wizard. It's like, no, man, I stepped in front of that blade because you're more important for this moment, and you know, than anything else. And it's you know, so that others may live kind of mentality. But I don't know. That's what I do now. I'll ask people, like, make me a fighter. Like, give me your ideal fighter, and watch them just min max the shit out of
it. You know, and for me, the thing that I've noticed about me and so I've got this Friday night group that I play with a lot of times.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed is we have started tending to make characters that are broken in certain ways. And like for example, we had this pickup game that we would play if the regular GM couldn't play that night and we still wanted to get together and play. We had this off the wall setting that we just called Flux, which was we rolled up a biker gang, and they all had to have, as part of the novice build, they had to dump like a D8 into a useless knowledge skill. So like one of us was knowledge of like Japanese poetry. Somebody had a D8 in quantum physics.
Nice.
Somebody had a D8 in something else. But there were going to be skills that were fairly useless just because we wanted to have these characters that were really smart bikers in certain very specific areas.
Yeah.
And then whatever happened to the bikers. But we just burned points that could have been put somewhere else. One of the characters never took shooting. So anytime they got a gun, and they were always on the lookout for a gun, even though they couldn't shoot. I mean, always shooting unskilled. And one of the best parts is because that character always did that, at the end of the night, there was always this big PvP brawl between all of the player characters, because whatever just happened pissed all of us off. We're just beating the shit out of the one guy that couldn't handle it or that screwed everything up for us. We're like, you idiot, wham. And so it's a big fight. So much fun just building broken characters.
Yeah, man.
And now I typically just roll up. I go completely random as much as possible, just to see what are the dice gods going to give me to see what I can make of this one character, even if it's not optimal.
Yeah. And you know, what's awesome now is like a lot of the games that you and I play, they take the way we come up playing, which is just your attributes with the random factors, you know? Yeah. And now like Dragonbane, everything is random. If you want, like, and it almost is written as if that's their preferred method, you know? But yeah, it's like, it's so much more interesting. And that's why, I was talking about 5th edition a while back in a video, the video idea where like, I've never played 5th edition and neither of you. And that irritated some folks, ruffled some feathers, but it was about like, you've never read the rules, you know, especially the GM guide or the DM's guide. But like in the flow structure of 5th edition, making a character, you actually roll your attributes before, or you roll your attributes. I think it's after you pick everything else. It's in a weird step order. Like you don't roll those first. Yeah. You decide on your race and class, and then you do your attributes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, if people follow this, it would make much more interesting characters.
Yep.
You know,
although you know, reading Castles and Crusades, to go back to our discussion last week, the thing that I really like about, so I started reading a little bit of the Castle Keeper's Guide.
Yeah.
And one of the optional generation methods is you roll down the line and then you figure out what type of character you have based on rolling down, which is so much fun because it's like,
bro,
so many games. So you figure out what type of character you want to play, and then you generate the character. And I'm like, you know what? For me, even in Savage Worlds, this is true. Even in Savage, where I have complete control over how I build my character.
Yeah.
I go in with this idea of a legendary character because I envision them being able to do these legendary actions, and I never get to. I never. It's not that I couldn't build up to that. It's just it's not the character that I have in my head because I had to come up with my character idea first.
Yeah, sure.
Let me build my character and then figure out what type of character he is. That way, my expectations aren't subverted because my stats don't agree with what I have in my head.
Right.
I want to build a man. You have an 11 strength. Damn.
Right. Yeah.
No. So if I know going in that I've got an 11 strength, you know what? Maybe I'm playing Conan's sidekick now.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people are just, I don't know. I think it's how you embrace that is how you embrace the narrative. It probably puts you closer to a better understanding of role play in that fourth dimension sense and the autotelic sense of what it means to not gamify the system. And I was having a conversation with someone online about this 2 days ago. I can't remember when. But yeah, it's like system mastery helps, role play. And I was like, yes, but invariably system mastery is on certain systems creates problems and roadblocks for people because invariably you're not going to take the choice that's the coolest. You're going to take the choice that is the most optimized for your character. And people are like, well, of course, if I'm going to build a fighter, I'm going to build which is the problem. They use the wrong verb. I build a fighter, it's the best. I'll have to be the strongest and the fastest and the most healthy. I was like, why, man? Audie Murphy is a great example of not needing to be 6'4", 230 pounds of lean, fighting muscle. Dude was probably one of the most badass human beings on the planet. And was like my wife's height, 5 foot, he's a short dude, very tiny guy, but just brutal. So I don't know, but no one would ever play, Audie Murphy unless they knew about him. It's just crazy. But I don't know.
That's hilarious.
I don't know.
I think that may be one of the reasons why I like Traveler so much, because the Traveler character creation method is just by far one of my favorite across all role-playing games. I've not found one that is as fun for me as Traveler because I have no idea what character I'm coming out of that with.
Yeah, no, not at all.
There's, the fun thing is when you get a character concept that aligns with, like, I built this character one time who ended up being like just this brutish brick of a man. He was like, somehow I rolled really well for my strength, endurance, and oh crap, what's the last one? Body? No, it's not. Anyway, whatever the three main physical attributes are, which I'm totally forgetting at the moment.
It's fine.
I rolled really well for all of those. And when I went through my careers, I ended up going through like just a ton of military careers. So I came out as this big, strong fighter type who was just really good with guns. And anytime we got into a fight where bullets or energy bolts started flying around, the nerd science guy, my character always stepped in front of him because I was the one who could take the damage.
Right. Yeah.
And the player's like, why do you keep doing that? I'm like, because you can't take as much beating as my character can.
Right. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna protect the asset that knows how to get us money, because I don't know how to get money other than to beat things up. And I enjoy beating things up.
Yeah.
But that's not going to get us the kind of money that your intelligence can get us.
There you go. Right. Yeah, yeah, you were like Jane, but with a heart. So
Yes, yes,
whereas conversely, I'd like to have been at the table with the person playing Jane. It's just a complete
yeah,
dick.
yeah.
Well, he's gonna get himself
Although
punched in the
there
mouth.
was a
Oh,
ballad written about Jane, so I
that
mean,
is a true story. He was a
you got
hero.
mud, so yeah.
That's true. The Mudders. Yeah, man. Ah, dude. I don't know. GMs just got to relax. Players, you got to be responsible. I think those are the two
Yeah,
big things that'll help. I don't know.
don't overstep. Don't
Yeah,
overstep. When the GM allows it, be respectful of the
yeah,
GM's. I don't want to use benevolence, but I mean, they're trying to engage you. At least
yes,
that's the way that I see it. It's
yeah.
like let's get
That's fair.
everybody engaged and let's build this
Yeah,
world that everybody cares about
yeah. No, that's fair.
because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's just stop asking so many goddamn questions. We're in a dungeon and I'm a thief. Can I pick the lock? Shut up. Shut up. Take narrative control. All right. Do you want to talk about what just well yesterday our backers got it. Today I spent many an hour trying to get this fixed up on Drive Through RPG. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, let's do.
Let's have that conversation. Okay. So as of today on Drive Through RPG in the newest section, we have we have our Neon Blood Year Zero finally got the final PDF for web viewing. It's all hyperlinked and whatnot, and we can show you some of that. And then there's two versions, much to at least one person's chagrin. We did a dark mode version because it's black paper. I have a penchant for that. If you've looked at some of the stuff that I've designed, like the last few have been all black paper. I just think it's cool and sci-fi-ish. With Neon Blood, it pops with the neon. Then we did a White Room edition, which is on white paper with, obviously not white lettering, but the neon and stuff is still there. It's not a printer-friendly version. You can try to print it. I'm going to guarantee you're going to run out of ink, just because it's too awesome. All right, so I'll stop talking and I'll just I don't know. Never really shown this off before, but that's the cover. That will be the cover. I just love that drawing.
It's a good one. I think it's very cyberpunk.
Yeah,
especially with that augment in her head.
Yeah, that old like printer connector.
Yeah,
cyberpunk
exactly.
doesn't have to be stuck in the 80s. I can already hear it now. Oh my god, it's Red Letter Media. Oh my god, Why is cyberpunk stuck in the 80s? Like whatever. Yeah, it's 263 pages. I know it doesn't show up really too well on there, but you can kind of get an idea of like it's a full table of contents. Everything's hyperlinked in the table of contents. It goes on forever. Some of the art is commissioned out. Some of the art is just stock art. It's just how it is for right now. But it's
Grand
not
Failure is good though. Gotta love Grand Failure art.
Grand Failure is dope, and it's not AI. Pretty sure he doesn't use AI. I'm pretty sure that's all him.
Oh no, yeah. A lot of his stuff predates AI art.
Yeah,
years.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. The internals, like if there's a page number in here, there's hyperlinks, but also there's a active menu bar across the top of the PDF. So and you can jump to the different sections. It's not any. It's not in the order of chapter layout, which I think was irritating for some folks originally in the OSR version, but it was like. It's in the layout of the shit you're going to need. Like the most lookup things are going to be combat, then the hacking, and then you're going to move down from there. In my opinion, so that's what it is. But that's the dark mode, and it's got the black on there. And you see where it's got the hot glow. Probably won't show all of it because then you just start taking screenshots, being weird. I'm just kidding. Let's see.
I need you to scroll a little bit more so I can grab that one.
Oh my god, what are we doing? Uncanny Valley. Yeah. So that's the thing about Neon Blood is, I know the question is always like, why do I need another cyberpunk game? It's like, well, Neon Blood is designed to like really ask you what you're willing to do to be the best. And I know Cyberpunk Red and whatever else is out there, they think they do that. but they don't. And then the uncanny valley is it's essentially there's a point where you're going to get too much cyberware, and then everyone around you starts getting weirded out by you. And that, like, that feeling you got when you play Cyberpunk 2077, if you played that, the first time you meet Maelstrom and you're just like, the dude's missing most of his face is carved away, and it's just got like, you know, a chunk of optics put in there, and it's just like, it's not normal. That's not normal at all. And so we've implemented that, and then you know, cyberware is not for free. After every run, there's a post gig upkeep, and you know, all those corporations that you hate, they still owe your ass, and so you still owe them, and you owe them money.
Well, and you know, the thing that I like about it is it's very subscription-y type based stuff, right? So you're never paying off your cyberware. You rent it from month to month. It's like, hello, pre-cyberpunk era that we're living in.
Right. Yeah. It's just so many people. There were people who didn't really get that. I'm like, do you think this cyberware really costs like $20? You're taking your eyes out and replacing them with shit, and you're giving yourself night vision and FLIR and the ability to zoom in. Like, that's probably millions of dollars worth of nonsense.
Oh, that's one thing that makes me laugh when I look at Traveler, because Traveler augments are not cheap. Yeah. And I could actually get a whole body replacement if I wanted to, except that it's going to cost me, I think it's like 20 million credits.
Jesus, man. You're looking at ship prices in that, you know?
Yeah. Of course, when you have a full body replacement, then you no longer have aging effects. All your stats are all your physical stats, I should say, are completely maxed out.
Yep.
So you're getting a lot for your money, but they don't make things cheap.
It's just crazy. Oh man. And this is the light mode, or the light mode. That dude's got me all fucked up.
The white room.
The white room. Yeah, white room edition. You see there's like a subtle, like that pinkish purple glow that bleeds off of the neon onto the page, which I thought was pretty dope. And then it is, as you can see, it is not printer friendly. It is 100% a pain in the ass. I know everyone thinks you change paper color and you're good to go, but obviously there's work that has to be done on the artwork and, you know, the ink and everything else. Because, like you said, the contrast is the most important piece.
Yes. So we know there's a lot of people who have a hard time reading white on black paper like that. I know several people who struggle from that. And so we were asking the question, do we want to do this? I'm like, do I want to? No. But at the same time, I know people that would appreciate having something contrast that they can read. That's easier on the eyes for them and their particular situation. So we felt that we needed to do that for people that at least are going to struggle with the white on black. Because I mean, I've seen games where I struggled and I did not like the book because of that. And I'd much rather have something like this that I could get if I needed to go that route.
Yeah, no, it's totally fair. They're sold separately, I think, which is a little bit of umbrage for at least one person, but it just is what it is. You don't have to buy them both. It's literally the same game. You just figure out which one is. And the previews, hopefully they're both working now. Drive through. You know, you get a chance to look at those previews and you can be like, oh, okay, I really know which one I like. And this piece of art, that's a custom one that was done by this artist called Paul with an O, who is going to be helping us out with Open 6 and Task Force Raven 0 Hour.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I asked him what genres he could do, and he's like super creative. It's how he does this, and I've seen his process, and it was just like, dude, there is no way that, like, there's no way you did that and it gets to this, and it is dude's creative. Every cent that this costs, he earns. I've never seen anything like it, and I know they're sound like a boomer, but that is Neon Blood, both the dark mode and the white room edition. And you can find it on DriveThru RPG now. It's right now we're going to keep it at $15 for the PDFs. I don't know, probably for the first month or so, maybe, I don't know, whatever. And then we'll move that back to $20. We're just, you know, getting that going. And then yeah, the covers and all that stuff is being done tomorrow. We'll have all that. We'll get it lined up, get it submitted. It'll take God knows how long to get the print on demand. Who knows at this point? But knows it to come in. Then we got to take a look at them and make sure everything looks good, and then that'll ship.
Doctors go out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I consider also, there's if you're a Kickstarter backer, make sure you click the link, because it's not just like people on drive-thru are only going to get the PDF and the character sheets. But if you're a Kickstarter backer, there is like 5 or 6 sprawl maps that are in there, like big sprawl, so you can kind of visualize like what kind of city look do you want. The book has all sorts of hyperlinks in the resource section too, so like you can go, well, it doesn't really matter. You go to that section, and there's like, it's how do you make there's another one of Paul's pieces. That's actually the piece that got me on him. But how do you make sprawls? How do you do this? How do you do that? I have YouTube playlists set up of music, most of it which is still there. Like my idea of like kind of what music, kind of where it's going to go, since we got rid of all the mumble rappers in Minecraft, and then we moved on to different music. But it's kind of like mumble rap meets oh god, I forgot what genres were, but it was a real blend of like different kinds of modern music kind of leading that direction. But yeah, so we've done stuff like that, and then you have a bunch of tokens for VTTs that are in there, a whole folder of that. There's a custom secret lab that was done up by another artist. Her and I kind of collabed on some stuff, and she did this really awesome 3D rendering of a lab. So that's pretty dope. I'm trying to think of what else is in that. There's so much that's in that folder, but yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. I don't know. And then I always get to this point where I'm like, I have I have the other files, and I've talked. I'm converting Shells and Ghosts, which is like a macro campaign. It's like 4 acts. And really the tagline is how far will you go for family? By the end of that adventure, you 100% will answer that question. And then I've got like little files like, man, what are some of the little files? There's a list of corporations, like micro corporations. I've gotten some of those and kind of expanded out the other the mega corporations a little bit for folks. Those will be coming. And then I don't know what else is there. Oh, Memphis. I just turned Memphis 2035 into a thing. I'm working on that. Those will come out, and normally I do that kind of stuff for like either a pretty low price or pay what you want. Just whatever keeps the game kind of alive and moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But I also get to this point where I'm like, okay, Neon Blood is essentially done, right? And we got to ship books and stuff, but okay, cool. That's the next projects that we get to, and it's just like, here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
The cycle starts again.
Well, I think the biggest struggle that we have is keeping the AHD under control to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Well, let's focus on this project or these 2 or 3 projects. We've got all these other ideas in the hopper. We'll get to them, but let's get something done first.
Yeah, and that's it's tough because it's like, you just want to spit out. You want all your ideas to flow into the ether. You just want to give people fun stuff. And it's never been about anything else. I'm just like, dude, there's so many awesome ideas. Here's an awesome idea. Take it and run with it. But yeah, there's that picture that I realized no one could see because the stupid PDF thing was hidden. Anyway, that's the original picture I saw from Paul with an O. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. And we talked a little bit. And then he did the cover art for Above and Beyond, which is the the space expansion for Neon Blood. I was like, hey, here's what I want. I want, like a space station where someone is like a space station space, like a space dock kind of thing. shipyard, a floating shipyard, and out the view window is a ship detonating in half, and then inside is a girl, and you realize she's a terrorist. And that's what they did. There's a ship snapping in half. That's like nuclear yield going on, and then she's sitting there, and she's got like a cup of tea, and she's sipping it, and one of her eyes is lit up. And it looks like she's like accessing data or something as the ship's going off. And it was just like, oh man,
That's awesome.
yeah, he did a good job. Did a good job. All right, let's do that. Oh man. All right. I don't know. Anything else from the project side, Neon Blood side, experience?
I don't know. There are several things that I know that we've got in the hopper. We've got Tomb of the Cursed Dead. We're working on Task Force Raven and Forlorn Scene. I think are the three big ones, along with, of course, Open6, the in-house system that we are working on. I think we need to talk a little bit about that at some point, and talk about how or who it would be effective for, because I recognize that not all systems are effective for everybody.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
5e is not effective for me much anymore. I'll play it if that's what somebody wants to GM, but don't ask me to GM it because I just can't.
Yeah. If I could GM it using the full Dungeon Master's Guide, I would GM 5e. It would still make me sad because flat results are boring. You know, even though that's addressed in the DMG that no one ever reads. But anyway, the Open6, I think probably the best way of talking about it might be just to go ahead and do a demo game.
Do a game? Yeah. I agree.
And just, you know, again, we're going to stack the deck in our favor. I don't know if someone's watching this and if you're interested in trying it. I know we've got you, and we've got one of our old players from the Savage Dragonlance that we ran. He's definitely down to play test, and he's a good role player. Yeah. Great role player actually. So, but if we got someone who watches this and you're kind of interested, come to the Discord, jump in, introduce yourself. But yeah, Open6 is, I don't know. I don't think the system is that complicated, and I honestly, there's no complication mechanically. Yeah. The complication comes.
Well, I'll tell you, the complication I think is it's going to be a turnoff for players that like to maximize their actions. And I mean, that was one of the questions that I know we had when we were playtesting once with a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And the question is, why would I do the suboptimal thing? And we're like, why would you? And the answer is because it makes for an interesting story, or because my character doesn't think in terms of this.
Right.
And that player still did the suboptimal thing.
Yeah.
Because he was at least like, you know what, my character's thinking like this, so I'm going to do that anyway. But for the player, it almost felt like there was something left on the table that could have been used. And for players that are worried about the optimal move, that may not feel as good.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And that we'll demo the game, because for me, it's the mystifying part, because like I have enough choices as a player where I feel that I can always optimize what I'm doing, you know, luck dependent, which is it's such a hard concept for me to have somebody be like, I just don't know what to do.
I think part of the problem could also be that modern games a lot of times don't encourage players to aid one another in combat. Instead, it's we're going to do this big heavy task where we're trying to open this gate, so now we can do a group roll to try and do that. Whereas in Open6, you know what, I've got extra points left over, I'm going to give those as a positive modifier to this other character who's going to deliver the killing blow, because I'm going to aid them by setting that or by distracting that person or whatever, so they get this modifier rather than leaving points on the table. And I think that's part of the problem is we don't think like that a lot of times. We're like, well, I don't know what to do with these 2 points, so I guess they're just going to disappear.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And it's real frustrating, because I'm like, I made, you know, I came up with what I think is a clever little shit idea for a game, and no, it's not like my narrative game. There's mechanics to it. It's just, you know, whatever. All right. We've belabored that without people are just confused now. We'll have to demo it maybe next week. Maybe next week's a demo week. You know,
maybe.
I mean,
I'm cool with that.
we'll even have a fun. We can do like a wheel spin because the game is designed for any genre. So, and I do mean any genre. We'll do the spin wheel and put all the genres down. Take a look at Savage Worlds and be like, oh, let's do this.
Cool.
All right. Let's talk about community hot takes. We did a few.
Yes.
Oh,
Fire!
fire. Here we go. We left off. There's a lot of flames under some of these. Oh, man. We'll go back to one of our. There's some truth to that. Yeah. I mean, there, that does happen. Yeah. Yeah. No, correct. But also, ovals are boring.
They're boring until you step away from them long enough, because that it's making me remember early 80s games, and I want to go do it just to relive those moments that I had as a preteen boy playing D&D.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, like that's yeah.
They get boring
maybe,
fast.
maybe. Yeah, I think you and I are in that. We've moved on beyond the D20, but it does it so well that
it does.
Okay,
It
cool.
does.
That might be fun. Online virtual tabletop attracts people who are incapable of forming a regular group.
23, because I had an in-person. All of my groups were in person, but we all moved, and so VTT is how we kept the in-person group together here in Tennessee. Maybe, but I'm just not.
No, it's like it's the roll of the dice on randoms is like difficult. And so, well, you and I met over a random game, and then linked back up years later.
Yeah, it was a couple of years later.
It's just crazy. And then here we are, business people.
Well, and I'll say that Nashville group that we played with is really closer.
100%. Yep, 100%. They're a great player. Yeah, that'll be a great campaign. Yeah. People shouldn't try to turn specific game systems into something they aren't. D20 will never make a fun modern RPG. They hate running combat. I'll just say Shadowrun's not well suited as a game. Fight me. Fucking system is terrible. It's a terrible system. But remember, that D20 stuff, that comes from when the OGL, it really is the OGL fault. I mean, I know fans try to do fan stuff for D20.
But the funny thing about that is, back in the day, they had a different system for Blue Hill, they had a different system for Star Frontiers, they had a different system for Gamma World. Top Secret. They had different systems. I think that's one of my biggest gripes with WotC is, why is everything got to be D&D? It's like, build more games.
I mean,
show people that it's okay. Well, it is.
If I got to make you buy a PHB and a DMG and a Monster Manual,
Well, probably one of the reasons I grew up playing all the different games is because TSR encouraged it. They had different genres they branch out from D&D because the company that produced it produced other things that enticed me as well.
No, I agree.
I agree. There are some games that are they just, I've got a spy, modern spy version of D20. It's not too bad. No jail spy game. Cool. I'm just gonna turn this into a different thing. Now, I did order Amazing Adventures. I did. I went and bought them. I did buy that. And I'm waiting to see what that is because once I got the PDFs, I started reading it. I was like, it might be pretty dope. Because it uses
So is that the
it's not just Castles and Crusades.
okay?
But yeah, because they have different things they can do, and they use fate points, bennies. And with the way the siege engine works, if your primary attribute gives you a 3 or 4, you already you know what you got to roll over. So it was like, it might work. The guns are pretty good. They're pretty well done. For modern stuff, I usually go to pretty well done.
D20.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Your Zero Engine is on top for me. So
I don't know. You say that, but that's what we thought about.
Yeah, and then I played enough of it, and I was like, holy shit, it's taking 5 hours to shoot your gun. Solution for Savage Worlds that I have on the back burner, the very back burner. But I realized in the night, in this one simple thing, super easy.
Is it to gate the community?
Yes, it's to keep the community. No, it's 8:30. Should we do one more and then bounce?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
That cool set piece you randomly place that does nothing apart from being metal, completely ignoring the adventure. 100%. Players will take the weirdest things you say, do, or show as a GM. You're just like, oh, this is throwaway comment.
For me, that was the spoon in.
Yeah.
I'm like,
don't know, man.
So for those that don't know, in the Desert of Desolation, when you're in the pyramid, there's this dwarf that's been carving his way through the walls with nothing but a spoon. And I'm like, there's no way a spoon is doing that unless it's a magical spoon. And my kids ended up finding the dwarf. They cast Detect Magic and found that the spoon was magical and latched onto it and suddenly had this quest to find the rest of the magical cutlery. Where's the fork? Where's the knife? Where's the this? And so I'm like, oh my goodness. So it was absolutely hilarious for me.
It's 100% true. It's 100% true. And it's just crazy. Or some people do like the big dwarven fortress stuff or whatever the hell it's called. The mini terrain and all that jazz. And they'll put it out, and then people just completely ignore it and go a whole different direction with the adventure and get stuck shopping. No, you want to shop, you better do it between sessions.
Well, funny enough, there's a bazaar inside that dwarven fortress. That's your closest mall right there.
Right, yeah. No, I think that will do it for this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone's enjoying our delivery and our talk, and you're checking us out. Like I said, the Discord's not really super active, so it's kind of nice for people. It's not one of those ones that you got to like, oh my god, there's 5,000. I'm going to mute this thing. But yeah, and then check out our products if you are interested in play testing. Let us know, because that is also a thing that's for real. I don't mind having people play test stuff for us. You just gonna need feedback reports. Gonna need a TPS report. I don't know. Anything else, bro?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. Well, until next week, have fun.